Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from While She Sleeps, Self-Help, out March 29th on Spine Farm Records. The album has 12 tracks, 45 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are a British metalcore band. And as far as the design goes, I'm not a huge fan of the structure of this record. I think the record stretches itself out a little bit too much. It has a sense of beginning, middle, and end, but it's not always easy to see what that path is and what it means. And when you stretch out an album and you don't have that clear defined path in front of you, as far as a listener is concerned, things become a little bit hectic, things become a little bit chaotic. And that's the overall experience that I took out of this album. You try to make sense out of all of the chaos that's revolving around you, and when you're doing that, you're not focusing on the main thing, which is really enjoying each and every single song and enjoying the overall journey that the album is supposed to put you through. This record lacks on that. As far as the sound is concerned, the album brings in a huge EDM electronic influence into their sound. It's the main common denominator across each and every single track. It's always there. Maybe more in some songs, maybe less in others, but it's always there. And having that huge electronic sound, that huge EDM influence, allows the band on this record to flirt with other genres that haven't been as predominant in previous albums. This record has a lot of new metal in it, it has a lot of industrial elements in it, and then obviously modern metalcore as well. So it's an album that at first glance feels outside the box. It feels like it has an eclectic nature to it, but it has that common denominator of that electronic sound, and that is the glue that kind of connects the dots between these very different songs. The songs have different starting points, different finish lines, but the path that you're taking from point A to point B has that commonality to it, and that allows for some of the chaos that exists in the design to feel a little bit more subdued, because that commonality between songs definitely helps you transport yourself from track to track. I feel like the use of the electronic side of their sound on this record perhaps goes a little bit too far. It takes away from some of their sound elements, some of their raw aggression, and I think that has a negative impact on some songs. Not on all of them, but on some songs. Because it doesn't allow the drums to feel as natural. It doesn't allow the drums to feel as powerful, as organic as you want them to be. Specifically when you start infusing some electronic sounds into the drum sounds, almost giving you a flashback of 80s new wave. And I think that's pushing a little bit too much, because you want the drum sound to be a little bit more consistent, to be a little bit more grounded, to offer a little bit of oomph. And the same could be said for the guitars. Now, the guitars I didn't feel as much as I felt it with the drums. I thought the guitar sound on this record was consistently heavy. Not to say that it's heavy all the time on every single song, but when you take a step back and you look at the guitar sound on this album, you're definitely going to see a heavy guitar presence, a heavy guitar sound. And when you have that heavy guitar sound and then you bring in those electronic elements, that's where the industrial side of the band, or the sound of the band on this record, comes through. There's glimpses here and there, and that added a little bit of spice, that added a little bit of energy. And then you also have the new metal side coming in, and you see it on the guitars, you see it on the vocals, and you have that influence as well dictating where these songs are going to go. So sound-wise, it's an album that doesn't follow necessarily predetermined patterns of previous records. I feel like this is definitely an album that pushes the envelope, that takes the band, I wouldn't say in a different direction, but it definitely shows you a different side of them and of what they can do. But the electronic sound sometimes overpowers everything else around it, and when that's the case, you start to lose a little bit of the focus of how you got to this point. And that's a problem, because like I said, you lose a little bit on the drums, not as much on the guitars on this album, but then you also start infusing some of it in the vocals, and I wasn't a huge fan of that, because Laws has a great vocal delivery. He's a great vocalist, and you want him to showcase that side of him in a more natural and organic way. And you see that in the clean vocals, you see that in the harsh vocals. When you start to bring in electronic elements into the vocal sound, you start to lose that organic aspect, you start to lose that raw aspect It takes you in a different direction. It allows you to do more. It definitely matches with the overall sound. It's not like those style of vocals feel out of place on a record like this, because they don't, because the whole album has that electronic infusion in it. But I just don't want that out of a band that has such an incredible vocalist that can do so much more in a natural way, versus having something kind of dictating the perception of what those vocals are. It also takes from the emotion of the tracks. It makes everything feel more robotic, and that's how this whole album comes across. It comes across in a very robotic way, because like I didn't mind the hip hop style vocals. I don't mind the new metal influences. I don't mind the industrial influences. It's just that when you start to see a lot of these elements becoming oversaturated with that electronic sound, you start to lose a little bit of the soul, and it becomes, like I said, a little bit more robotic. So the whole album overall feels that way to me, and that feels like a step backwards from where this band was heading before. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I have to start off with my favorite track on the entire album, hands down. The moment I listened to this record, this song had a special place for me in my heart. Like, I just really love this track. And the name of the song is Leave Me Alone. First of all, I feel like it's the one track on this record that really blends the electronic side that they're infusing on this album with their more raw metalcore, youthful aggression side that they've always had. This track really blends the old While She Sleeps and the current While She Sleeps to a perfection, because you're able to have that electronic sound infused into the song, but you're still able to feel the heaviness of the track, the aggression of the track, the raw emotion within the lyrics, the vocal delivery, the performance itself, the sound, everything. And it's a song that has a super catchy and hooky chorus. Having a little bit of a curse word here and there doesn't hurt. It works well to get the message across, because this is a very compact song, so it comes at you fast and furious. It wants to deliver with high octane, high presence. It's a song that I feel like in a live setting is going to be absolutely mental. It's a banger of a track, and it just has all the right condiments. And like I said, of all the tracks that this album offers, I think this one is the one that does it the best in terms of merging these worlds. It's also a short track. It gets quick to the point, and I think that's something the overall record really lacks, being a little bit shorter and more straight to the point. Great song to start off the record. This is track number 2 on the album. Next we have Wildfire. This song starts off with a great bass sound and then becomes a super dynamic track vocally. It's very rich vocally, very textured. It has that sleep sound, that more traditional sleep sound with that more traditional vocal approach, blending the two really well. An energetic sound with an energetic vocal performance to match. It has a super hooky chorus, which is something that you can almost say about every single track on this album. It has a great drum sound. On this song you feel a little bit more of the umph of the drums coming through. The guitars offer incredible energy to how the track moves along, and even the electronic elements on this song blend in a little bit better with their more traditional metalcore sound, and the way they come across more as a modern metalcore song that has a little bit of an electronic backdrop to it. So it's a track that works really well. It doesn't push themselves too far outside the box on this track. It just feels a modern touch of one of their classics. That's how this song comes about. Last but definitely not least, Enemy Mentality. Talk about electronic sounds. This one has a huge presence when it comes to that aspect, and it infiltrates in every single piece of the song, and it infiltrates in all the sound elements, and it infiltrates in the vocals as well. But it still allows the guitars and drums to punch through with a heavier sound, with a thicker sound, with a more impact. The chorus has great choirs, and I think that's one of the reasons why the chorus is so explosive and why this song really resonated with me, because it's a track that mixes intensity and melancholy extremely well, and you see the ebbs and flows between both. There's a melodic melancholy built in within this track, within the sound, within the vocal performance, within the delivery, and then there's also that more aggressive, youthful aggression, intensity that also comes out extremely well. It's a song of ebbs and flows, but one that feels very dynamic and very engaging. This is it. While She Sleeps, Self Hell, out March 29th on Spinefarm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care.